Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review. And in this video I'm going to review Elation by Mikael Delta. Mikael Delta, mostly known as Mikael Delta, is an electronic producer who was known to be one half in one of the most important and one of the very first electronic groups in the Greek scene called Stereonova. Stereonova, in my opinion, is easily one of my favorite groups in the 90s and of all time. They have done some of my favorite and some of the most emotional electronic works, going to ambient techno with some rap style spoken word and some heavily emotional albums, and all of them, in my opinion, they're amazing. They're some of my favorite works of electronic music of all time, not just for Greek standards. The group mostly consisted of Mikael Delta and Kappa Vita, and when the group disbanded in 1997, both of them took a solo direction, but none of their works managed to be as creative and as innovative as the ones they did as Stereonova. More than 20 years later, Stereonova reunite and create a new project. In 2018, they released Uranos. And even though it's not one of my favorite works from Stereonova, it's another great, amazing album in their catalog. A really nice set of ambient techno tracks. It's mostly instrumental and it's an impressive album. Mikael Delta shares his second work on Inner Ear Records, which is definitely one of the more important current labels in the Greek community, mainly consisting of some more unique and more creative rock and electronic stuff. While the works of Kappa Vita go more into an electropop direction and they focus more on lyricism and singing, the ones from Mikael Delta are straight up instrumental ambient techno. And this one over here, Elation, is a work that doesn't really sound that much like a Mikael Delta album. Elation sounds almost like nothing else he has done before. The sound on this album sounds so unique and professional, and the sounds he uses, some of them are a bit experimental. There are some distorted and glitchy parts in this album, something that is not that much used. This one feels a bit more futuristic, but lots of the elements that you would expect from some of his other ambient techno releases are still here. This is another album that has melodies and sounds that are heavily emotional. It's a quite melancholic ambient techno album, which is something that you would expect from some of his works, and some of the elements with the sounds, they're still there and they're pretty well done. It's mostly soothing and relaxing, but this is an album that takes a few risks and shares some new elements in the whole sound of ambient techno compared to some of his previous inputs. With tracks like A Perfect Day and The Five Principles, we see tracks with lots of different weird faces. Some of them with their glitchy experimental beats remind me of some of the experimentations that he took with some of the tracks from the latest album from Stereonova, Uranos. It definitely has some of the synths and some of those melodies that kind of get me back to the sound, especially with the track Avatarism, definitely my favorite moment in this album. I love the synths to this thing, and even though it sounds like one of the more simplistic tracks in the whole track listing, it works. It works for this track to be as simplistic and being as straightforward. And definitely one of the risks with this album is that it doesn't feel that much straightforward. Some of the tracks feel a bit slow paced, getting into the main theme or the beat after 1 minute or so. In general, there is a great ambience surrounding this entire project. It's beautiful, it's soothing, it's calming, and it definitely tries and it manages to get you into a certain mood, to make you feel relaxed. This album feels like a sort of mind meditation. This album is 50 minutes long on its digital and CD format, where you have some extra tracks that are not included in the vinyl version, which is a bit of a shame because in my opinion some of the better moments of this album are excluded in the vinyl version, like with the tracks In the Name of Love and with the track Daylight. But here's the thing, as far as I like this album the first time I've heard it, and I think that it has a really nice atmosphere and it's such a beautiful ambient techno album, the more I listened to this album I ended up feeling less and less fulfilled. As far as there are some moments that I like, for example tracks like A Perfect Day, Avatarism and The Five Principles, and there are some other moments that I think are quite nice, like with the tracks In the Name of Love, Daylight and Elation. There are moments in here that feel a bit one-dimensional, feel a bit repetitive, a bit monotonous, and when I got into some of the tracks, they felt even more and more boring. Examples are tracks like At the Old Airport or 3 AM Thunder, and the album also has a weak finishing point, with the short tracks Art in Heaven and The Sky Inside Me. They just feel like a short, weak ending portion to the album, not really leaving that much of a solid, lasting impression. The more I came back to this album, the more flawed it became. Still, I like this album, there are some nice moments, and it has a gorgeous and chill atmosphere to it, and it's definitely one of his better works production-wise. Some of the ideas though felt a bit dated and not as innovative or as exceptional. He has done some better works in the past. I'm going to give Elation a 6+ out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.